My last name is Teller. Okay. Really? Really? Wow. The lady that's painted on the floor at the Teller house. Was that Baby Doe? Was that Baby Doe Tabor at the Taylor house? Yeah. The Tabors, Horace Tabor is a very famous silver miner back in the turn of the century, 1800 turn of the century here, and was very famous throughout Leadville and through that whole mountain area. Is Leadville being so rich with all that Tabor history? A lot of people don't know that Doc Holliday actually spent time there before he moved on into Glenwood Springs and ultimately passed away in Glenwood Springs. And of course, everybody knows Doc Holliday ran with Wyatt and all the Earp brothers down there in Tombstone and whatnot. And then he ended up moving into Leadville. He got in a confrontation with Billy Allen. Billy Allen had moved to Leadville, and he was up there quite a while before Doc Holliday showed up. Well, Doc Holliday was in and out throughout his lifetime. He was a gambler, so he moved around a lot. And he actually was constantly being arrested in Denver for vagrancy because he never had any money unless he was hitting, winning some money at a poker table or something. So he eventually made his way up to Leadville. Well, Billy Allen had already been up there for a while, and if you watch the movies Tombstone, then Billy Allen and Doc Holliday kind of had things going on back when the Earps were in Tombstone. And so they hooked up there in Leadville, and knowing that Doc was broke, didn't have any money, Billy Allen loaned him $5. Doesn't sound like a lot of money these days, but that's probably $100 bill back in the day, So a couple of months goes by, Doc Holliday's up there at the Hymans Saloon. He's working as a bartender. And he hadn't paid Billy Allen back the $5 that he owed him. So Billy Allen went around town and started telling people he's gonna get his money or else, So Doc Holliday caught wind of this, and he had him a little sawed-off shotgun, kind of hanging on a hook underneath the bar there. And so when Billy Allen come in through the front door and started to reach for his pistol, Doc pulled out the shotgun and shot Billy Allen, just wounding him. But Billy Allen rolled back out in the street and got out of the second round of fire. And of course, Doc Holliday was arrested because at this point, Billy Allen hadn't pulled his weapon. And so legally, Doc Holliday just shot a man for no reason. So he wound up going to jail, right? So he goes to jail. He's doing his time. He's in there for like 4 or 5 months pass by because he doesn't have the money to even bail himself out. And he doesn't really, he just shot the only friend he had. And then lo and behold, what was his name? John Houston of Houston, Texas. That's where Houston got named after. He just happened to be in town, and he friended Doc back in the days that he was running with the Earps, and went ahead and paid for Holliday's release. Holliday got his release, and then they ended up going to court, and he was convicted, but they decided, because no harm done, he was to pay Billy Allen his $5 back, pay the court cost, and then they'd call it even with time served. And so Doc got out of that mess and ended up hightailing it on into Glenwood Springs shortly after, and that's when the tuberculosis finally caught up to him, and he died there in Glenwood Springs. So a lot of people don't know that history about Leadville, and it's sad because Hymans Saloon has no identification anymore. Leadville has become a bicyclist hotspot of the United States, and so it's like bike shops and bicycle community. I hate to say it, but they ruined Leadville for the historic value that it had, and changed the entire community. If you're not a cyclist, then you're not going to enjoy Leadville anymore. And it's popular. It's a big thing. You know, there's a lot of people that are into international bicycling, I guess. But it's sad to me to go up there and see these places, the old Tabor Opera House, you know, and what it's become. And they took to build this bicycle whatever headquarters. They tore out the entire bar and the upstairs where Doc Holliday used to stay, and all that. They ripped it all out. And I've got old photographs back because it became the after Hymans Saloon, years and years later, of course, by like we're talking 70, 80 years later, then a gal ended up buying the property, and she converted it into what she called the Bonanza Trading Post. And she and I were very good friends. And so she allowed me to do investigations there, as well as go up and do an investigation in Doc Holliday's room. There was 4 apartments up there, and he had the very first apartment overlooking the main street there on Leadville. And then she got me into the Tabor house, the house with an eye, set me up with, trying to think of the old boy's name now. He just recently died. The old judge up there. At any rate, you see a video on my YouTube where I interviewed him, and he's telling me about a Studebaker hearse.
This is an 1890 Studebaker hearse. It was used for women and young people because it's painted gray. The men had a bigger black one. Infants had a small white one. The men's hearse was pulled by 4 black horses. This one was pulled by 2 gray ones, and the infants had a small white pony. We know it's a Studebaker hearse, although it has no marking on it, because when I worked here as a guide 50 years ago, I told people it was simply a hearse, and a man in the crowd said, "It's a Studebaker," and I said, "How do you know that?" "Because of the way the carriage bolts fit the axle to the springs." And I asked him how he knew that, and he said, "Because I am the historian for the Studebaker Motor Company, and I travel around the country looking for Studebaker wagons. So you have a Studebaker hearse." It was last used in 1933 in December, when the country repealed Prohibition. The boys brought it down from the 2nd floor where it was stored in the livery stable and put a packing crate in it, and in the packing crate they put milk and coffee and water and tea and root beer and ginger ale and all the stuff that they had to drink during Prohibition, and they buried Prohibition in a railroad yard. Here's the inside. You can see that. How much detail went even into the ceiling that nobody would see, really.
Now that's a pretty small coffin. Would you say that would have been a child's coffin or a woman's?
It's about 5 feet. People weren't as tall as they are now. So that could have been for a young man. Women's coffins were typically gray. They weren't dark.
So black was basically always reserved for men. Okay.
There in big cities like New York and London and San Francisco, they had funeral outfitters that within hours of a death, if you called on them, they would come to your house, and they would, within a couple of hours after that, have a black mourning dress made for the widow, and black armbands for the men, black wreaths for the door. They'd have black coverings for the mirrors and the pictures. They'd print up your stationery that had a black border around it, and after a certain period of time, the border would get smaller and smaller and smaller until finally, after about a year, it would go away. It was a very ritualized event.
Amazing.
What a character, but he was very involved with the Tabors up there as well. So, you know, that was my old stomping ground, and a place I did a lot of stuff at and had a lot of friends there. Catch up here. Let's see. We got right. I agree. It's awful when you just, and that's why I have such a passion here at the monastery. I don't want to. It's been here for 100 years. I want to see it around for another 100 years. Yeah, the people associate Doc Holliday and the Earps to, you know, Arizona and you know, even Kansas and whatnot. But they were all over the Midwest states and definitely here in Colorado. Yeah. Colorado is pretty famous for all the abandoned mines. There's a lot of them. Yep. So as you heard, I just got a text from Colin. They are planning on being here at 6 o'clock, so they must be in the area somewhere, I'm thinking. And I really, when they start investigating, I know he wants me to go in and give them the tour. So I'll give them the tour, the history tour, and give them a little bit of the haunted history as well, you know, where the hot spots might be and some of the activity that we've had in here.
Go, 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 go. Go, go!